Hi guys, so I wanted to update on the movie exchange that I had with filmmaker Chris Turner, which I did the interview for, and then I discovered that the very clip that I had used to show David Icke's shapeshifting was in fact one of the clips that Chris Turner has at his YouTube page to advertise his movie Don't Mention the Reptilians. And so, as you know from my last two movies, we had an exchange back and forth, and since then we had maybe 3 or 4 different back and forths where he sent me pictures, I sent him, he sent me some footage, not footage but pictures, and with some edits on it, and then he finally sent me a picture showing a frame by frame of his high resolution images showing David Icke's teeth were actually, his take on it was that the teeth were elongated because of a shine on his tongue, and I used that footage to actually prove that he's shapeshifting, because in his very high def 1080p footage you can see a difference in the teeth from frame to frame. It's quite prominent, you can see it, there's no question about it. You can see a little nub on one frame and then it disappears slowly and you don't see it at all in other frames, and there's 5 frames that he uses for this one sequence. So anyway, basically we did not convince each other. Now I want to say that although this was news and I had to report it, and it looked kind of like we're all kind of hyper suspicious on this, we have to be sensible and realize, first of all, I'll say one thing. When somebody first told me that David Icke was shapeshifting, I didn't believe it. And I was not going to accept it, and I thought that they were trying to debunk him because of his very message. So I didn't believe it, and I was about ready to blast somebody when I decided, well, I better wait and I'll take a look at the footage. When I did, and the more I looked, I began to become convinced that this very guy, who is the best speaker on revealing the shapeshifters and the reptilians, is himself, in fact, shapeshifting. And so this is a confusing development, because then a lot of people think that I'm debunking the entire body of his work, and that is not what I'm doing. You can clearly see that from my YouTube channel. I use clips from his previous work, and I think that he was genuine in his previous work, and in fact I still don't even know whether he himself may not realize that he's a shapeshifter, except that I think YouTube user Gorilla99 did a good job of exposing his Illuminati handshake in one of his movies, and it's quite prominent, quite visible, so you can really see it. And I would say that basically, I think that he knows now, and that he's not telling us, and I think that that is worrisome for sure. And that if this guy is teaching and selling books on revealing the reptilian subject, the shape-shifting subject, these shapeshifters, and then he himself is not telling us about them, I think that is a problem. And it's not being honest. I mean, if I started shapeshifting, I would tell you guys, hey, you know what, guys, I looked in the mirror and it looks like I'm shapeshifting. And this is also a hard field to narrow down, because there's even with somebody like Chris Turner, he's very intelligent, he's educated, I can tell he's the real thing. I mean, he'll make a movie that so many more people will see compared to movies at for instance, my channel, just to amateur shape-shifting movies. But still, even with someone of his caliber, if you're not used to this, if you're not used to looking carefully at the footage frame by frame and then being able to determine from one frame to the next these changes, and also I mean, like I said, it takes time to even believe it, because our minds are against believing it. That's one of the reasons that I think it's so hard for anybody to get an accurate head wrapped around this thing, is that it's hard to believe it, hard to understand what's happening, and especially when you've got the very guy who is like the figurehead, the leader for this whole revelation of the fact that we are controlled by non-humans from another dimension. and or non-humans, whatever they might be, extraterrestrials, who knows, we don't know exactly what they are. But what I want to say is that, don't immediately suspect Chris Turner of being, an Illuminati insider. I mean, I had a little bit of that suspicion too, but what we have to do in this case is be patient and wait and let the facts bear things out. Give things a chance. I mean, I'm not holding my breath. He may never, see it clearly. I mean, to me, it's beyond question. I mean, you can see the changes. You could see it's from one frame to the next. It's not the same tooth. You can see in David Icke's case, he has what appears to be like a ghost tongue that comes over his lower lip. You could really see it. I was just scanning some other footage that I had downloaded this morning, and it's really prominent. And he shows slit eyes, definite slit eyes. I mean, when you apply that contrast, there's no other explanation than that something paranormal is going on. You can see the slit pupils, and then also in David Icke's case, you can really see the teeth shape-shifting. So, sorry, but he's a shapeshifter, and what I would say is that, look, okay, it's confusing, it's dismaying that he's not coming forward and telling us about it. And by the way, on that subject, this is important to understand. I just met somebody who says that they are willing to come forward and come forward on camera. Now, I haven't been able to confirm this. I haven't been able to. Obviously, I like to, people yak and yak about non-humans or aliens or whatever. I like to show it. So if I say something, I like to show it. So I'm going to wait before I make any big claims about this. But I'm just pointing out the difference, that I think that there are some people that are willing to come forward. And by the way, this person is a Christian who underwent much suffering as a result of coming to their Christian faith, and I don't want to reveal about it too much until I know more about it, and I'm ready to upload a presentation about it. But what I'm saying is that I think that these people who are apparently a mixed dimension race, and it looks like my theory is bearing out to be correct. It's a mixed dimension race. That's a lot of what we're seeing, at least with the shape-shifting. There may be other things like holograms and so forth, but what we're seeing is a third dimension, fourth dimension mixed being, a mixed heritage, and that's why you start to see the shape-shifting. And but in any case, my point is that, let's be honest. I mean, we got to be honest about what's happening. I mean, if you're somebody like David Icke, who supposedly is the whole point is to tell the truth and to get the truth out there. Okay, let's start with you. Okay, you want to tell us about your shape-shifting. Can you be honest with us? I mean, your teeth are really shape-shifting, buddy. I mean, you can see it, and there's zero question about it. And the whole issue of it being too blurry from just downloaded footage, it just doesn't hold water. If you can see enough features to see it is the man, it is the person, David Icke, and not somebody else, and you can tell it's if you can see the image clearly enough to make out the person, and then you have and also clearly enough to make out individual forms like a tooth, and then you have a space that shouldn't be there. I mean, a big space, almost as big as the tooth, and there's just no reason, no video camera error that can cause that. And you can see the form clearly enough. That is empirical evidence, in my opinion. That is hard evidence. There is no other way to get that pixel data to show up like that unless it's a paranormal phenomena known as shape-shifting. Okay, so I wanted to update you guys on that, and I'm going to show some more footage here. But just wanted to tell you guys that, and that I'm going to also probably be posting at my site, freeourworld.org, a complete transcript of our email exchange, so that you can see what he said, you can see what I said, and you can see his pictures, and you can see my pictures. So as you guys saw with the last movie that I made about this, that Chris Turner is a professional compositor and so forth, and a serious movie maker who's probably going to make a jolly good documentary. But what I would say is that once again, don't be too quick to judge. But on the other hand, what I would say is this: I would say, Chris, I realize that it may be highly inconvenient to see that David Icke, a seminal piece of your movie, is in fact shape-shifting and then not telling you about it. And I know that I've shown you irrefutable proof in images that he is in fact shape-shifting. And so I would just say that, you know, I've done what I can do to tell you that the movie that I did an interview for you and to participate in your movie, I've done my best to you know, show you that in fact one of your interviewees is in fact a shape-shifting reptilian who makes his living off of revealing this subject and others, but mainly that is the main one he's famous for. And here he is not letting us all in on what the story is, and it looked like he was a genuine searcher. So I do think that there is a difference between the David Icke that was before and the David Icke that's now, because I think that the David Icke that was, for instance, interviewing Arizona Wilder, I think that if he discovered his own shape-shifting or knew about it, knew that he was also of mixed heritage and or whatever, that he would have come forward. And now he's not going to come forward, and he's not coming forward. He's not telling us what's happening. Who knows? It's possible he, you know, may not know, or maybe under hypnosis or something. But I think one of two things: either his body's been replaced, or he's been taken over. And I think the latter. I think now it's looking like either there's a reptilian attached to him, controlling him, or I don't know what. But I mean, I think that the genuine, courageous, and you know, well-spoken person of David Icke, if he discovered that he himself was shape-shifting and showing clear signs of reptilian features like the slit eyes and the shooting tongue, that he would have come forward and said, guys, you know what, it looks like I'm one of these creatures, and so I'm gonna keep you updated on what's happening here, what's happening with me, so that the world can know. We have a serious issue here of non-humans living among us, and there's so many atrocious crimes that we can't explain that appear to be non-human in origin, that this is of utmost importance. I mean, you know, I would say to everybody watching, you know, if you realize that this is true, this is not BS. This is. I mean, we have non-humans living among us. It's a fact. You know, you can take apart footage. That's one of the best evidence and proof we have now, is to go through footage frame by frame. Get yourself a video camera. Really do it. I would say that this is one of the most important things that we can do if we ever hope to know the truth of what's going on here. I mean, we are being kept in the dark. It's not fair. We're paying money to our governments who are not telling us what's going on with extraterrestrials. They're not telling us what's going on with the non-humans that are now living among us. They're not telling us what's going on with the reptilians and what they're spending our money on. So you know, this is a revolution that we're fighting here. I mean, and one of the best tools that we have now is the video evidence. I mean, you can film your TV, guys, and get proof of non-humans. Video your TV. It's not that hard. Get a little tripod. Put your dedicated video camera up there. I have a movie on it at my channel. Just shoot the footage and then go through it frame by frame. With a hard scrubber, it works the best. I use a Pinnacle Studio, but there's plenty of other programs that you can get, and this is what we got to do. I mean, this is the fight. We have to, if we're going to know the truth, if we're going to know the truth about the non-humans that are here, and also free up our planet, because what I understand is that most other planets have aliens coming and going. Okay, and they have a free exchange, and we could have had clean technology and all kinds of other benefits that could have helped countless of people and improved the situation of our world, maybe free up the whole energy crisis and everything, so that we're not polluting our world and fighting over resources and everything else. But it's being blocked. They're being shut down. There's satellite footage of them shooting UFOs, extraterrestrials that might come here and make contact with us, and I think that's what they were trying to do with that flyover of the White House. They were trying to make contact with us, and they're being shooed away by the reptilians that are feeding off us. Now, there may be a larger reason for that, but it's really important in any case that we fight for the truth, because I mean, otherwise we're just sleeping dogs here. I mean, we're taking this lying down, we're taking being imprisoned, we're taking being enslaved, we're taking being lied to, and for our money to be spent on stuff. I mean, your tax money is going to a government that's lying to you, and the really weird part is it's like everybody doesn't care. I think you got to care. Okay, we got to do something about it. Also, I just want to thank the very generous people who have helped me out here. I've literally been living off of donations that a few generous people have been giving me, and I really appreciate that you did that. I mean, it really blows my mind that people are willing to do that to help me, and it's a crazy situation. Somebody else just emailed me saying how that they also felt that they were singled out and seemed to track him down financially and like seemed to block him at every turn, and that's kind of the experience that I got too. Like they saw me coming for even before I started doing this, and but especially when I started doing it, and things really all of a sudden dried up and became very difficult financially and turned, you know, but I mean, this has been happening all my life, and I, you know, can't necessarily blame, you know, a hidden enemy for everything, but I can say that it looks suspicious, especially now with everything that's happened. I mean, it really looks like somebody had it out for me, but you know, it's hard to say for sure. One thing I can say for sure is that the aerial harassment and vehicle harassment and the LAPD following me and so forth, I mean, there's hard evidence that that was unusual, and that, you know, they're not so obvious about it that, you know, I could definitively prove it and, you know, go down to the police station and bang on the counter and say, hey, cut this out. But you know, because they're smart about it, they're not going to do it so much that it's going to be you know, too obvious. Not only that, it's kind of hard to film all the time, but any that they can get away with, they certainly do, and to keep up the pressure. And but you know, it doesn't just, I mean, you know, it's annoying, and yeah, it does a little bit dismaying sometimes, but actually it's kind of interesting to realize that they're using, you know, probably mostly holographic helicopters, but real ones too. You know, to try to put pressure on me to stop, you know, and every time I get a flyover, I go, oh, it's another upload. Oh well. So and you know, it's kind of interesting, you know, because then it means that, you know, you must be doing something that's a threat for them to risk exposure that way, and because they know I'm filming it, and to have to go through all that trouble to put pressure on somebody, because otherwise, you know, if they didn't think that you were doing anything that's a threat to their human bee-feeding operation, they wouldn't bother. Okay, so guys, I just want to say thanks a ton for your help, and you know, as long as I can do it, and as long as I feel like, you know, this is what, you know, God still wants me to do this, I'm going to do it, and you know, and also continue to include that, you know, folks, if anybody's telling you that this is about anything bigger or more important than heaven and hell, I got news for you. That's what this is about, folks. Do not be fooled. Do not let people, you know, fool you with space aliens, all kinds of weird stuff and delusions, and try to lead you away and say the Bible isn't true and everything. Don't be fooled. Folks, it's about heaven or hell, and where are you going to go for what you did in the world. That's what it's about. I'm very clear on that. I mean, it just becomes more and more clear. The whole thing is about what are you going to do about God. Do not be fooled, okay? Yes, there's aliens. Yes, there's extraterrestrials. Yes, there's a universe of technology and stuff that we haven't seen or know about. Yes, there's other dimensions. Yes, there's the reptilians. But it is all God's creation. I mean, I can tell you very clearly that God is in my life. When this hardship this last hardship that I experienced occurred, He came strongly into my life, telling me that I needed to pray, I needed to do these things, I needed to stop doing some other things, make my life more holy and acceptable to Him. And I mean, it is clear. It is not BS. It is not just imagining it in your mind. I mean, when you experience God, when you pray, when you focus your mind on God's Word, you will start to see His work in your life, and it is just no doubt about it. I mean, it is strong, it is powerful, and it is really the central thing about life. What, you know, are you going to do about the very God who created your flesh, okay? God created you. What are you going to do about Him? He wants something. Read His Word. He wants to tell you about Him. He wants to show you the right way to live. He wants to inform you about evil. He wants you to come away from the default satanic spirit that we all receive. That's the thing. That's what I realized, is that we even as Christians, we don't realize. That's what I realized my ministry is going to be about. It's going to be not so much about bringing Christian people to be Christians, but to teach those who have already received the spirit of belief, because we receive a spirit of belief, that we need to come into holiness, because God is holy, and you need to understand what holiness is and why you need it. And I think this whole opposite end, where you see the evil with these reptilians, is what you get when you don't find holiness and learn from God what this is and how we need to live in order to come into being able to be holy and to enter into heaven. Because, folks, that's the whole thing. You realize, why is life so hard? Why is it such a pain? Why does it suck so bad? It's because this is minus heaven. This is minus holiness. That's what I realized this whole trip and this life is about. There's nothing is more important than that, is getting into heaven. Because you see, the real government already has the technology to stop all disease, to stop all aging, to even stop sadness. Enter thou into the joy of the Lord. Don't be fooled by the old language, the old English language of the authorized King James Bible. It is the real deal. God already has this technology to take away all sorrow, to take away all the pains and problems and diseases that the human body has, and take away death. He has said this very clearly in His Word. If you study it, those people, those intelligent people who have come before me, have studied His Word and know that it's been true all this time, that He has this technology. You can enter into a place where all of these problems go away if you want to live. But you can't do it while you're still unholy, while you're still living in Satan's wickedness. And I was doing that even as a Christian. That's what I realized. That's what this hardship that I've been going through is about, is that I wasn't living holy. Christians, you have to purify yourself. Now, I want to tell you something really important about this purifying thing, and it's what's really hard to understand, okay, is that there are semblances of things that we enjoy in this life that are good things, that we're probably going to enjoy some semblance of them in heaven, but for now we have to give them up because they lead us into sin. That's the issue. It's showing restraint. It's showing that you're going to have faith in God, that if you are willing to lead, yes, a boring, miserable life. I'm sorry, that's what I realized it finally comes down to. I knew that for a long time, but I wouldn't do it, and I couldn't fully grasp it. But when the hardship comes and you realize that God is really purifying you, you realize that that's what you've got to do. That in order to earn that place where there's no more pain, sorrow, and death, as it is written, you have to set aside your personal desires, your personal things that you want, and focus on the work of salvation, the work that you need to do in fear and trembling, overcome the beast, the mark of the beast, which we receive by default, and that I might have even now. I'm not going to mince words like some other people might tell you, that I don't have a 666 right across my forehead for the things that I've done, the things that I'm doing, the sins that I don't know about, the iniquity that I'm serving. We don't know. But what the scripture says is that when those who have overcome the mark of the beast, they can enter into heaven. The saints, they overcame the image, and it's also worshiping the image of the beast. That's the lesson that Scripture is teaching us.